where do people come up with their usernames from? How attached
you see
are
some
they to
shitty
them?
ones out there, eh?
You do, yeah. Especially, I don't know if
shitty.
you've played 14 enough to see the really shitty ones yet, but when you run past and you do see, like, Cloud Strife, the dude who got Cloud Strife, and then you see Cloud X Strife X, Cloud _ X Strife X, Cloud X Sephiroth XX 7 exclamation mark.
Yeah, absolutely. And then there's the ones where people have, like, chosen them when they were 15, 16, and you know that they regret it, but they've had it for so long that they just have to stick with it.
Name is that?
Yeah.
I want to change it, but level 23, there's no way I'm starting again. Like that.
No, absolutely not. No way.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome back to the Overcast Gamer Show. It is the 5th of March, 2017. My name is Abe Foster, and I'm also joined by...
Reagan Harper.
Balthazar Valentine.
Nice.
As per usual, it's great to have you guys back with us, and I'm referring to the audience this time, as I know there's always confusion.
It was just that one time, Abe. Come on. Come on.
Yeah. I'll never let it go, Reagan. What have you guys been doing? We haven't actually done a podcast for 3 weeks this time. I don't think there's a particular special word for that, like fortnight, maybe a thrortnight or something like that. But what have you guys been up to?
I think you should go first, Balthazar, because you've got the most exciting news.
Yeah,
but that's not what I've been up to for 3 weeks. That's been like
the last day.
Yeah. I mean,
What have you
over
been
the
doing,
weeks
man?
as a whole, I was just doing the usual, slogging it out and living in Final Fantasy 14 for two weeks and 5 days or so until the Switch launched, and then I decided that I wasn't going to wait like I said I was. I was impatient and I threw all my money at it.
Yeah. So if you go on our Facebook page or our Twitter, you can see a rare photo of Balthazar with a massive, looking like a gleeful little kid with his Nintendo Switch. Brought a tear to the old eye.
I think your word, Abe, was shit-eating grin.
Shit-eating grin.
The photo doesn't convey the audio, but the audio was pretty much me just lying there covered in it going, oh, ha, 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 ha.
Yeah, just
we'll
shuddering away.
We'll get to the Switch a wee bit later on, but for now, just your story around the Switch, Balthazar. So you weren't going to sort of buy one for a while, right? Because there was Zelda coming out and everything else you weren't really that interested in.
Everything was, I've got a few releases that I'm really keen on and always knew I wanted to get, and that I was going to get a Switch to play them, but they were I believe they're all still, release date to be decided. So it was certainly no pressing matter for me to pick up a Switch on release, especially since I could pick up Zelda on Wii U. So it was certainly a surprise to me to go and buy one. But no, what happened was I went to grab Zelda on Wii U, and it turned out that New Zealand, once again, as we frequently do, got shafted. And it wasn't just New Zealand, apparently. It is a bit of a global shortage where Nintendo basically thought, Zelda is our Switch launch title. We don't believe too many people will be getting it for Wii U. So rather than sending, a bunch of stock to each country and potentially not having enough, we're just going to send an amount that equals the pre-order amounts. So not even one additional copy to put on shelves. If you pre-order it, you get it. If you didn't, good luck. You're waiting indefinitely until stores actually get some more to put on their shelves.
Thanks, Nintendo.
So yeah, for that I was kind of like, well, I'm not going to buy a Switch just for a game that if I'm patient I can get on Wii U. But I did.
I recall the conversation.
Yeah, there was a lot of semantics around it. One of the big things, which ended up actually a friend from work as well, ended up going out and buying one after I came back with that same shit-eating grin and walked up to him and held the bag open, and he was like, "Oh, mate," like what is this? He went out and bought one as well when he hadn't planned to, and I helped him justify it by essentially saying, "Look, historically proven fact with Nintendo they don't drop prices on their hardware. They just don't. It's the same cost 5 years after launch as it is at launch.
Or software.
Or software. The only thing that Nintendo drops is supply. So the only thing that's going to change is if you don't get one when you see one, you may not be able to get one when you want one. So I figured, fuck it, I, in a roundabout weird way, have the money for it, so I'm gonna buy it, because I know I'm gonna get one in the end, and I'm not gonna save money on the purchase if I wait. I'm just gonna lose time with the system, so I just bought it.
Yeah, nice, I've only got things to lose here, and that is time with the new Nintendo Switch. I am jealous, big time jealous. Like coming in today and seeing you sitting there on the couch chipping away at it, man. I'm very tempted to just go down and buy one myself. Not gonna, because I'm an adult and I have to make like very clear financial decisions, but
just very clearly make the decision to buy a Switch.
Yeah, well, touche. Maybe I'm looking at it all wrong.
I'm guilty of talking myself into things as well. I remember before Battlefield 1 came out, I was sort of umming and ahhing about it, and I was, and then I started engaging with content online, watching videos and stuff, and before I knew it, I was down paying, our exorbitant prices, picking up Battlefield 1, which ended up being an alright game, but I sold it pretty soon after because I realized, I actually don't really like Battlefield that much. But it's so easy for me to talk myself into that sort of stuff, just to get on the hype train and just, run to the shop because I want to be part of the zeitgeist and part of the conversation that's going on. So I've been thinking about a Switch as well, but I've got a game that's been consuming my mind, body and soul at the moment, so it's not too bad. But let's get into a wee bit of what we've been playing. Or Balthazar, did you have one more thing you wanted to talk about in terms of New Zealand?
I kind of do. It's happened quite a while ago, and it's something that's just kind of been, a weird topic. So it's nothing we've ever really brought up. But I thought, I'll share this story with you guys. It's pretty cool. Pretty cool bit of, a Kiwi designer getting out in the world. There's obviously in November, I was out in Japan for the whole month. And while we were there, we made stops at, I think, 4, maybe 5 different Pokemon centers in the country to spend, again, far too much money on stuff that we don't need but really want. And one of the things that we put, it was just one thing, was Hannah picked up a shirt, which was it's called the Gummi Pikachu shirt, and it's essentially it's a white T-shirt that looks like it's covered in gummy bears, pictures of different coloured gummy bears, but upon closer inspection, they're little Gummi Pikachu looking candy things. It's just a nice, cool design. And she was wearing this shirt at work a few months ago. And lady, I'm not sure if it was just around Johnsonville or if it was specifically at her work, but a woman stopped her and said, "Oh, is that a Gummi Pikachu shirt from the Pokemon centers in Japan?" She was like, yeah, it is. Someone was like, "Do you mind if I, hold on a minute?" And she went off and she got a camera. She's like, "Do you mind if I take a picture? Because my husband designed those T-shirts and sent them off and had them printed for sale in Pokemon centers."
Oh, wow.
That is very cool.
So that was just like a really cool little thing that, it's so not Kiwi to think of, like Pokemon in general, or, while everyone gets caught up in the hype and things, you don't think of New Zealanders being well known for anything to do with Pokemon, really. So to just think that, there's an entire range, this wasn't just, one T-shirt, there's an entire range of Gummi Pikachu, like clothing, phone accessories, I don't know, probably pencil cases and stuff.
Cool.
And this New Zealand bloke designed it all. So that's pretty cool. New Zealand bloke who lives in Johnsonville, apparently.
Oh, that's great. Do you know the name of his company or anything, so we can give him a shout out?
I don't know. I wasn't there. It was just Hannah, and she doesn't think to ask these things. She just gets kind of caught up in it a bit, which fair enough. To be honest, I almost certainly would too. Yeah. Just be like, "Oh, that's really cool," and kind of get invested in the story without asking follow-up questions. So no, but we could probably find out. It's probably on the label of the T-shirt.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what they have the labels for.
Yeah.
Nice.
That's awesome. Yeah, we'll find out what the company is, and we'll give him a shout, because that actually sounds really cool. Sounds like an awesome wee venture he's got going.
Absolutely, yeah.
Well, on that topic, I'll tell you a T-shirt that I wouldn't want to buy with this sort of logo, this sort of game on the front. Ghost Recon Wildlands. Now,
so you've been trying the beta, have you?
I have. I put in probably about an hour into the beta, and we'll get to why it's only been an hour. So if Ghost Recon Wildlands is to win any award this year, I would give it the award of least surprising game in terms of what I was expecting. It's exactly what I was expecting, guys. It's exactly that. It's open world sort of militia type game, Ubisoft game. The physics are janky as hell. It seems to lack any sort of personality. I was bored almost immediately. I got into a vehicle and got told to drive somewhere. I think it's set in Bolivia. Got told to drive to a certain location. Got up the top, killed a few people. It just didn't feel like it had any weight to it whatsoever, and I sort of did a bit of free roaming after that and tried to get things to glitch out as much as I could. I didn't enjoy my time with Ghost Recon Wildlands, unfortunately.
So it sounds like it's exactly what it's described on the box, which you could say is a good thing, but is not.
Yeah, I mean, if you're into soulless shooters with no personality, no charm, nothing.
That sounds like just my thing, Abe.
Yeah.
Why haven't you told me about this earlier?
Soulless Shooter 2017. It's I don't want to be fully negative on you because they did Watch Dogs 2 and they've done For Honor, which were really, really cool stuff. But Ghost Recon Wildlands feels like you be getting back into their normal shtick. Big open worlds, which granted, they do craft really nice looking open worlds, but the gameplay is just not fun in the slightest. And it feels like when you've come from playing something like a Uncharted, a Horizon Zero Dawn or something like that, and you play something like this where you shoot, say, just small things like I'll shoot at a car, it'll leave some bullet holes, and then the windows won't smash or something, or the bullets won't affect the windows, and it's just that lack of polish that I really pick up on and that I really don't enjoy with Ubisoft games like that. The environments seem like one piece of the game and you seem like another piece, and they don't meld together properly. It's
right. Yeah, totally. I know what you mean. Because I guess games are getting to that point now where a really good game, the attention to detail has been put into it so that all of those little things that are normally kind of immersion breaking, like being able to shoot the window out in a car, have been crafted and are great. So I guess it's just kind of 2017 for me is the year where that sort of shit is perhaps not acceptable in a AAA title.
I mean, consider this isn't a small team we're talking about. This is Ubisoft, and almost all divisions of Ubisoft have hundreds of employees. I think this might have been Ubisoft Montreal who are responsible for Watch Dogs 1. So not too surprising there. But it's, exactly as you mentioned, Regan, I just can't be dealing with that immersion breaking anymore, considering the size of the team and the amount of money they expect me to pay for this.
Well,
it's a real shame. I wouldn't advise anyone to pick it up after playing the beta. I know betas are there for a reason, for you to sort out these glitches and bugs, but I could tell even without all the physics glitches and things like that this is a game I would regret buying almost immediately.
Yeah, I mean, as you said, betas exist for things like trying to catch as many bugs as possible before launch, not to find out if people are going to notice entire engine rewrites that need to be done, like having glass react to being shot. Like, that's something in the game. That's not just something that's there because it's the beta. That's a choice they've made to not have glass react to being shot.
Yeah, and that could have just been one car or something. But things like if you shoot at a bloke, I expect them to, I expect individual body parts to be damaged or for them to limp or something. But these guys just react like bullet sponges, eh? They just like get shot in and there's a little bit of a red mist, and then they just keep shooting at you as if nothing happened, and you have to pump 50 more rounds into them before they go down. So not happy.
Like a 2005 game.
Yeah.
Fear doing, you shoot their limbs and they go flying off, and then they, readjust shooting their gun with one hand now because they've only got one. And then, a 2017 game with 100+ team behind it can't even, vaguely hope to match it. It's just not on. Not at all.
No,
that's disappointing to hear, Abe. I'm sorry to hear that, man. That you put time into that,
It's a bit of a bugger, but, what are you going to do? Yeah. The second thing I've been playing is thankfully a lot more positive. Now, this is something, Regan, you picked up a while ago.
I got this. I'm pretty sure I picked this one up like on release.
You did. I think we had this game and Firewatch, and we divvied them up, and I got Firewatch, and you got Unravel. which is the Coldwood Studios game. Now, this is a Swedish developer, and I think they're relatively small. They were one of the sort of flagship games for EA's EA Originals, I think it was, which is EA sort of delving into the indie scene and backing these small developers.
And they seemed genuinely stoked. I remember when the guy, when he talked about it at E3, was the most nervous I've seen anyone ever. It was great.
Yeah. You can go back and listen to our podcast on E3 last year, and we talked about it, and just how endearing he made the game seem. It just seemed like, he was obviously the spokesman, but it seemed like he made this game, and it was his baby, and he was so nervous, but he wanted to share it with the world. But he'd never done public speaking or something, and
never been through even like a wee Toastmasters course at lunchtimes.
Interesting choice for a spokesman, really. If he wasn't even the developer or anything, just this is the guy we want talking for us, the guy who's never talked to anyone.
The game is absolutely charming, Reagan. I think that's the word you went with when you sort of talked about it as well. It really is. It's a lot of fun. It's just one of those games that I love. I'm a puzzle platformer fiend, and this is everything I love. It's just a really simple little game, not too many mechanics, but it has a level of satisfaction and has a couple of those eureka moments when you figure out some puzzles.
Yeah,
and it's got I don't think the story borderlined on getting a wee bit, what do you call it, sort of over dramatic or sentimental for my taste. It's sort of, it revolves around an old woman, and you sort of play through her memories.
Yeah.
And it got a little bit sappy for my liking, but
I think that was the point of it, though. Like, you're playing. The playable character is Yanni, who is one of her little like yarn dolls that she makes. Like, you're sort of in it for sap from the beginning, I think. It's a very it's like it's got that feeling of some sort of game that's made completely from scratch, like Yanni. It's been knitted with love, kind of thing, and it's got that feeling about it. So you can't fault it for having that. That was so special, Abe. Yeah, that was nice. That was nice.
Yeah. But it also has some really cool dark moments in it that I wasn't expecting, which I just adored. There's a level that focuses around sort of nuclear waste and biohazard stuff, which was awesome. Like a really, really interesting level design, and I'm still trying to kind of piece together the story, but if it's what I think it is, I'm not going to give any spoilers. That's pretty cool. Like that's really took a turn that I didn't see coming.
Yeah, I thought that kind of section through the game was really cool, because you sort of got an impression of how sort of quite fragile Yanni is as a character, and there were lots of cool little animations and things in there with him sort of like shivering and just little bits and pieces like that were really cool. And I think the game isn't without its faults either.
There's a few weird gameplay design choices that I wasn't a huge fan of. Things just being stuck and not really knowing where to go, and once you figure it out, it's not like that's what I'm supposed to do. It's like, well, that doesn't really make any sense.
Yeah, I'd agree. I remember that was one of my big thoughts at the time with some of the puzzles. Was it was kind of like you went down a logical path, and then it was kind of like they had just thrown a red herring into it so that you would sort of get stuck a little bit, and then you'd go back and start again from the beginning of that particular sequence or whatever and go, oh, okay, well, there it is. And then it didn't make you feel smart. It actually made you feel a little bit, I guess it felt like a little bit cheap, I guess.
Yeah. I'd agree with that, man. Yeah, there was a little bit of cheapness to it, but I think that it is this studio's, one of their first games, if not their first game. I think we can give them a wee bit of a pass on that sort of thing. They'll learn from these.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. We don't. Let's not kind of delve into the negativity of it too much, because that was a small flaw in what otherwise is a really charming, nice.
Yeah.
Pleasant romp.
It's an excellent game, and I would recommend picking it up. I got it for $8, and it is still $8 on the New Zealand PlayStation Store. So go grab it, because it's definitely worth $8. You get about 6 hours, maybe 5 hours out of it. So it's definitely worth picking up. Now, Balthazar, as we mentioned before, you picked up the Switch. The Switch comes with essentially there's one game that you want with the Switch.
Right.
The other game, we can probably talk about if anyone ever picks it up. Probably not. But do you want to talk to us about Legends of Zelda Breath of the Wild?
I sure do want to. This game is just a game. I can't.
That's going to be on the box.
It's just a game, man.
It's really just a game. It's so hard to classify this game because it does everything you want it to. Now, there's a lot of games out there that, you look at it and you play it, and recently I talked to Resident Evil 7 and said, it was a perfect game because it did everything it set out to do. But I think Zelda doesn't just do what it sets out to do. It does so much more as well for the players. There's really small things there. I know you're a fan of fine detail things that are put in, Abe, and so I've got one thing that I noticed yesterday. I did something and I was like, this is possibly the greatest feat in a video game of all time.
Wow.
So there's something that's always frustrated me so much in games when they don't put it in. And I'm going to use Uncharted 4 as an example because this is one of the primary fucking suspects of not doing it when they should have. And that is, when you got things like, for example, there's a sequence in Uncharted 4 where there's a few drawbridges when you're going across ruins. And you've got to you've got to find a way to get over to the other side and use the crank to lower the drawbridge, even though you can see it's held up by rusty as fuck chains. But shooting them does nothing because these chains are just impenetrable to bullets, because the chosen path for you to do this is to find a way around the other side and then lower the drawbridge so the Jeep can come across.
Yep.
I got to a segment in Breath of the Wild where I was trying to get across this canyon, and there was a drawbridge on the other side, and I could see there was a crank on the other side right next to it, and I was like, all right, I've got to try and find a way across. So I kind of climbed up, I glided around, I was trying to get over, and I just couldn't find a way across, and I was getting pretty frustrated, and really it's because it was stopping me from progressing in an area I wanted to progress to. It wasn't where I was meant to be going. I just kind of saw this really cool thing at the top of a mountain, so I was like, fuck it, I'm getting up that mountain. And it turns out there is a really easy way up there from around the other side, but I just took a chance and I shot the ropes holding the drawbridge up, and they snapped and the drawbridge came down.
That is awesome.
I went across the drawbridge and I was like, okay, maybe that's the intended approach. Maybe this crank does something else. So I start to wind the crank. I interact with the crank and he kind of goes to wind it. And as he pulls on it, it goes slack and just starts spinning wildly. And the rope kind of loosens out and lets out and trails down the cliff. And it's like, no, that was the crank for that bridge. They've just also put shooting ropes as a thing in the game.
That's really cool, eh? That's sort of like almost game design from the ground up as far as engine goes, and they go, okay, cool, they've made those decisions. It's not like they have an engine and they're cramming a game into that engine and working out their mechanics and things as they go. They're like, okay, cool, here are all the things that our game is going to do, and then they've worked from there.
It's rewarding the player for being inventive, which I think is fantastic, because there's nothing better than that feeling of thinking, what if, and then it works.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what always, open world games particularly, that's why I get frustrated and often don't finish them. Because, I come up with these ways like, why is this not working? I don't approach things really as what if this works. It's more I try what I think should work, and because in the real world it would. And if it doesn't, I think, why not? Why is this not working?
And then
why did they not think
I'm playing a computer game.
Yeah, exactly. And it's really immersion breaking. And so far, nothing in Zelda that I've tried to do has not been possible. I've been able to do every single thing I've thought to try and do. I mean, just before we started this podcast, I just did a shrine and I couldn't solve the puzzle, so I brute forced it and I made it through the shrine through an unintended method because I couldn't work out the solution to the puzzle. So I was creative and I found a different way to do it, which I was saying to Reagan, I could tell was incorrect because those games are often quite forgiving when you do it correctly. So if you do something right, there's, kind of a big window of time to get it done in, a lot of room for making mistakes because you're trying to do the correct thing. And the method that I managed doing it required such absolute precision that if I made the slightest mistake or mistimed a step by 0.1 of a second, I was fucked and had to go back to the start and try it again. So I was like, absolutely, this is not the way you're meant to do this. But in the end, through practicing my method, I managed to get it down and made it to the end of the puzzle. And I just thought, cool, chalk that up as another one in favour of this game. I couldn't work out that puzzle, so I fucking did it my own way, and it worked.
That's really cool. So shrines are essentially mini dungeons, right?
Yeah, so shrines are, very much just sort of 1, 2, or 3 room dungeons, which typically are prized around one mechanic. So it's really kind of teaching you to master one ability or power that you have to get through it. And yeah, they reward you when you get to the end by giving you a spirit shard, which when you get 4, you can increase either your total life or your total stamina.
Yep.
So yeah, you're just very much encouraged to go through them all. And yet this game, I've probably played maybe a little over 10 hours in the past few days. Very easy to just keep playing this game. Being on the Switch makes it all the more easy. You kind of go through to the bedroom or whatever, and you just walk up and take it out and walk through to the bedroom and keep playing it while you're going, and then you go back in and slot it in. Like, you can play this game forever. Like, nothing stops you from playing this game. But yeah, it's so far just, it's everything I've wanted to do in it. I wouldn't say necessarily the game's everything I've wanted it to be, because I very much just went into it wanting another Zelda game. I've always enjoyed the games, and it is another Zelda game, so it immediately fills that niche. But then on top of that, it's also everything I can think of it being. It's not just everything I wanted it to be, it's everything. So I'm saying, like, it's a game. It's the game, like the video game.
I've seen comments
open world
bandied about
game.
from reviewers and things online, such as, "This is the best video game ever made." And immediately I'm struck by that hyperbole, and always like,
whatever. What are you talking about? Yeah.
But it sounds like, no, this could actually live up to that.
It very much was. It's the quintessential definition of what an open world video game should be.
Freedom.
That sounds incredible,
and it's just so fun, and it really helps that the art style is so beautiful as well. It's such a unique and cool
the art style and the physics are what struck me, because the physics I did not expect those physics coming from a Zelda game.
Yeah,
is it hard?
It's quite hard. Not always. I mean, there's a few reasons why it's hard. One is that enemies, we're gone are the days where an enemy hits you for a standard quarter of a heart amount of health. These enemies travel in packs, and often with a chieftain, and if the chieftain hits you, we're talking 1.5 to 3 hearts in one hit. And considering 3 hearts is your total when you start, you're getting one shot quite a lot at the start. And the fact that no longer do you get, or maybe you do, but certainly the primary way of getting better weapons, armor, shields isn't doing dungeons like in previous Zelda games. It's getting them as drops off enemies, which if you're already having a hard time beating, the fact that everything has really low... I can't think of the word, kind of condition. Everything breaks. Everything you have breaks.
Oh, durability.
Durability, that's the word. And at the start, everything you're getting has a really low durability. So we're talking you'll kill 2 enemies maybe, and then it will break. So you need to pick up one of your defeated enemies' weapons just to be able to rearm yourself. So it's difficult, but for good reason. It's not difficult because it's like a Souls game and they've just made it difficult for the sake of being difficult. It's difficult because they've chosen in this game for you to source all your equipment from the land and from your enemies. And so if you do struggle with the combat or anything, then, your stuff is going to break and you're going to struggle to replace it. It is quite difficult until you get to a point like right now. I've got a stockpile of, strong weapons. I can one-shot most enemies in the area I'm in, and they've got decent durability. So the start is quite hard, but as you go through it and you kind of, practice it and get used to everything.
I'm getting the impression it's going to be hard for you to review this, mostly because there's so much positive shit to say about it.
There is, yeah.
Well, and there's so much game. I've heard that people put in 60 hours and they've only done about 20%.
Wow.
It's huge. So just to give some sort of scope of it, the starting area, so it is one massive open world, but you start in one particular area where basically you're raised up. You're on this massive sort of cliff face.
It's the plateau or something, eh?
Yeah, that's right. And this old man is like, hey, do a bunch of shit for me and I'll give you a glider. So you basically can't leave this area until you've done this quest for this old dude, because you can't get down without dying. This area is big.
Are we talking like White Orchard from The Witcher?
Yeah, we are.
Wow.
We're talking that sort of size. And then the fact that when you're done with it, kind of the thing that sets it apart from The Witcher is, when you're done with this area and you do these quests for the student, you get the glider, you glide down to the next area, the world map just zooms out. Like, there's no loading screens. It's not like going from White Orchard to, how when you leave White Orchard, it does the loading screen to pop you in the next area and everything like that. This is just going into shrines, going underground, it loads those, and then coming back out of them, it loads that. But when you're in the overworld, there's not a single loading screen. Ever. You can, whatever you see, no matter how far away, no matter how high up, you can get to it, and you will get to it without any loading screens in between.
Pretty darn cool, alright.
That's incredible. I think, we're going to have a dedicated Zelda chat, because we could probably talk about this for an hour at least by itself.
I'll just kind of segue it into what I'm sure you guys are going to talk about. And that's a cool little thing in the world that sets it apart from other Zelda games as well, is just that this world it's set 100 years after Ganon rose to power. So different from other Zelda games, you're not kind of trying to stop him from achieving his goal. He achieved his goal, and now you're trying to undo it. But the world is littered with the technology of the past civilization that tried to stop him when he rose to power. So the landscape is dotted with old, rusted, broken down machinery, like bipedal tanks and things like that, just dotted all over the landscape everywhere. And it really makes it look quite different to previous Zelda games. But it's definitely reminiscent of one new release AAA PlayStation exclusive, which I believe Reagan has been playing. So,
well, yeah, Abe and I have both been playing this game. Horizon Zero Dawn. We got a review copy actually, courtesy of PlayStation. So thank you very much to PlayStation and Sony for that. Abe's been chipping away at that, and I've been playing on my side as well. So the premise, obviously, if you haven't heard about Horizon Zero Dawn, you I don't know what you've been up to, but essentially it's post-apocalypse Earth, and humans have become sort of these tribal cultures again, and the twist is that there are mechanical robots as animals. So
that's not the twist.
That's the
take on it. The spin.
Yeah, it's the premise.
It's the premise. Yeah. So you play as Aloy, who is she's from the Nora tribe. She's been an outcast. She's pretty much awesome. And essentially, I guess the question with this game is solving this mystery of what's the story with these fucking mechanical dinosaur-y things. Like, how does that make any sense?
This is my favorite mystery that I've encountered in video games since I don't even know. I was going to say since The Last of Us, but there isn't even really a mystery around The Last of Us that much. It's more like, these, the fungal things infected everyone and the world's gone to crap. This has the coolest ideas in it, this game. I just love that you'll find something from the old world, our society now, and the tribes and the people who live in Horizon Zero Dawn will have completely different interpretations of what these things were used for.
They've made up kind of like myth and legend around, because this is we're talking like thousands of years in the future.
I think it's 1,000 or 2,000 years or something.
Yeah, like a long time. And that's exactly what would happen. What does happen in our world is that there's been cultures in the past where we've found, like, for example, ancient Greece. We know a lot about them, but we don't know anything at all because we're just guessing. And they've kind of played on that, and so a lot of it is myth. So certain areas will have names that are based on myth around their tribes and things like that, and really it's just like the town center for this old town.
Just the world building in this game is really striking, because everyone has a backstory, everyone has motivations, everything has a little blurb you can read about it. It's just it's that level of polish that you see in things like The Witcher 3 and stuff like that. I'm absolutely jaw dropped by how good this game is, to be honest.
really impressive. Hats off to Guerrilla Games. I haven't finished it yet. Still working on getting through the main storyline, and I've probably sunk, I don't know, nearly 20 hours into it, and I get the impression that I'm maybe not even halfway. So it's, good chunk of time, and I think the first thing that strikes you about this game, and we did a stream of the game just the other night, and
we did twitch.tv/Overcast Gamer NZ.
Yep. Get on there and have a look at that, because it's beautiful. That's the first thing that captures you about the game is just the aesthetic of it. We were talking about Zelda and how good that game looks. This one is incredible, but on a realistic
level.
spectrum.
Photorealism
kind of thing it's
incredible.
going for. There's, during the stream, I was playing the game, and there was multiple times I had to stop and just look, and just, I was speechless at what I was looking at, because it was absolutely jaw-dropping. There's remnants of the old world high rises and things just spiraling into the sky, and archaic technology scattered around everywhere, and these rusted old wrecks of tanks and things. It's just absolutely gorgeous.
It really, really is. There's a lot we could say about this game, and it's difficult to talk about it at this stage, because there's a lot you want to talk about as far as the story and theories and all that kind of stuff, but you don't want to kind of I don't want to spoil it for anyone out there who's listening and is potentially wanting to give it a shot.
No,
so it's hard to say.
There's been a few revelations so far where I've just been like, whoa, that's freaking cool.
Yeah,
I've got a question about the premise rather than the story.
Okay.
Because I'm wondering if something that comes up in the story, basically, as you've said, kind of the premise is that these robotic beasts are moving around the landscape and everything. And Abe, you said, it's one of a really cool, kind of mystery in recent gaming.
Words, Balthazar, words.
I know, right? Sorry. So my question is, do the tribesmen in general, and Aloy maybe in particular, know the history of these beasts, and it's just us as the players who are trying to hopefully find the source of them through the gameplay, or does no one currently alive sort of know why they're there?
No one knows.
No one knows. Yeah. The robots have sort of almost turned into these things made by the gods type thing. That's what everyone assumes they are.
Yeah.
Again, I don't want to give too much away, but there's the Aloy's tribe. It is definitely, when I say it's become myth, it's become religion, it's become they see them as from the gods kind of thing. It's really cool world building, eh?
Kudos to Guerrilla and the technical aspect of this game, because I can't there's games there's been so many games that have come out in the last sort of 2 to 5 years where it's looked like a really cool game, but it just hasn't held up on a technical level. This game is almost a rock solid 30 FPS the entire way. Like there was no way they were going to get this at 60, so let's just completely discount that. But I haven't seen a frame drop at all since I've been playing.
And that's just on the standard PS4 as well. So who knows what they could have accomplished if it were if the PS4 didn't exist. If it were the Pro with the specs of the PS4, it would have only been even better, kind of thing.
I shudder to think in terms of happily what this would look like on a PS4 Pro and a 4K TV, because I'm just completely smitten on my regular. I don't even have an LED. I've got an LCD and my regular old Joe PS4, and it still blows me away.
It's just special. There's something really special about it. The thing that gets me about the game, and I'm only going to touch on this slightly because we'll talk about this in our upcoming barbecue chat about it, is the balance of all of it, because there's a lot of ideas that have been cherry-picked from other games. There's a lot of stuff there that isn't new, but there's things in there, or the way that they balance all of that stuff out. They take the best of all of these different game franchises, mix them together, and cumulatively it's like, oh man, this has just kind of taken all of these things to such a high level. It's incredible. There's a bit of Witcher, there's a bit of Red Dead, there's a bit of Far Cry. In terms of Balthazar, I know you'd be interested in the towers thing, because yes, there is towers, but there's not many of them, and they're pretty special. Like, I think everyone probably knows what they are by now. I won't say, but they're really interesting, and there's a gameplay aspect to
to interacting with the towers as well. So it's not just you climb this tower and do this.
Right.
You figure out how the hell you're going to climb this tower. Like, yeah, it's pretty damn cool game.
It certainly shows an astute awareness and understanding, of guerrilla games, that they incorporated the best and most appreciated elements from so many different games into Horizon. They didn't just look at a game like, let's say Witcher 3. And say, we want a game like this, but in, this universe we've built. Because let's be honest, there's a lot of mechanics in Witcher 3 that, wouldn't fit Horizon thematically or things like that. So it's like they've not just taken elements that people liked from other games. They clearly have an understanding of how games should work and have taken elements that really cohesively mix together to make a good gameplay experience and only use those in their game kind of thing. And that really shows a lot of them as a developer as well, that they're not just trying to copy paste what's been successful. They really want to make their own stamp on the landscape.
Very, very much so. And this is Guerrilla Games, who are infamous for the Killzone games before this. They've also done Riggs Mechanized Combat for PSVR, but most notably Killzone 1, 2, 3 and Shadowfall. So for them to knock it out of the park, so to speak, with their first open world is pretty special and deserves all the kudos.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah.
So that's Horizon. It's out at the moment at all good retailers, and highly recommend it. It's
even out
value
some shitty retailers too. So.
It's such value for money. This game, you will get absolutely lost in it, and before you know it, you'll be 20, 30 hours in, and you'll still have a crap ton of stuff to do. So. It's definitely looking to pick it up. So we'll move into some a wee bit of news here, because there has been we've been away for, as I mentioned, 3 weeks, and there has been some stuff that's happened over the last
things have happened. Yeah.
So the first thing is Nintendo Switch. Now, again, before this thing launched, and even post-launch, we don't really know that much about it in terms of what's coming, who they've partnered with, all that sort of stuff. But Nintendo did have a stream what are they called, Nintendo Direct type thing, about the indies that they're getting on board. Now, typical Nintendo fashion, they can't just call them, Nintendo's partnered with indies. They're calling them Nindies. And and I'll read out a few of them here because it's pretty cool. Like, it's not the biggest of news, granted, but Nintendo, just seeing that these companies are getting on board with Nintendo and these deals are going through, as opposed to the Wii U, which had little to no third-party support. It seems like the Switch is already on track to do gangbusters, as opposed to the Wii U. So a few of them, I've just got them in front of me here. We've got things like Stardew Valley, which Regan, I know you're a big fan of, and I was too.
Cool, so they're going to port that over. That'll be really good. That's a great game to have on the go too. Like, that'd be cool on the Switch.
That's what Harvest Moon was. They were handheld portable games. So bringing it over again back to handheld roots will be fantastic. To be honest, I'll probably pick that up on Switch.
Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah.
Great.
It's it'll be interesting to see whether these games come at full price or if they're discounted, because obviously Stardew Valley is not a new release anymore.
Yeah, well, I'm going to assume
we've also got
Shovel Knight's $13 just as a step in price point for existing indie games. So
I'd pick that up for $13. I've been wanting Shovel Knight for a while. I've just been waiting for it to go down to a solid discount.
Yeah, well, it's $13 on the Switch when I checked. That was on release day.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Very cool. So we've got Shovel Knight, as you mentioned. We've got Overcooked, which is the little cooking sort of local couch co-op cooking game that PS4 had, which looked really, really fun if you have friends.
Yeah, that counts me out.
Yeah, all of us there. Ukulele, which obviously my most anticipated game of this year, which I'm absolutely stoked for. So when Ukulele comes out, that might be enough for me to pick up my Switch. If I've got Zelda and I've got Ukulele and Shovel Knight, man, that could be it. I might not have to wait for Super Mario Odyssey.
Yeah, totally. And that's the thing, right? Is that we've got Zelda, but we've still got a high price point to get in. Zelda's definitely a console selling game, and I'm most of the way there. But these indies, I think, are just going to tip them over the line.
Yeah. I'll read out a couple more here. We've got. Are you guys familiar with the Jackbox Party Pack?
Yeah, I love those games.
Yeah, I do as well. I think they're so much fun. They're
sort of a drive-through order. I'll have the Jackbox Party Pack, please.
Yeah. they're really cool little party games that you can play with people, and you what you do is you chuck them on you crank it up on your PlayStation, on your PC or whatever, and then you get everyone to get their smartphones out. Gives you a server, and you head over to that server, put a code in, and you can all just play with your smartphones and draw things on your smartphones. You can enter words for games where you've got to put in certain phrases, and there's sort of an element of Cards Against Humanity in there where you've got to make the most outrageous things. There's ones where you've got to choose from certain noises to make the most outrageous sort of what do you call it, soundboards and things like that. It's a lot of fun. Jackbox Party Pack. I'd highly recommend that. So that's cool. It seems like that's really well suited for the Switch as well, in terms of just its portability and taking over to a mate's house and just being able to bust this out, at a small gathering or something like that.
Yeah.
So that's really awesome. We've also got a few older ones here. We've got The Binding of Isaac Afterbirth, which I know Binding of Isaac. I'm not too sure what Afterbirth is, whether it's a sequel.
Just like the definitive edition sort of thing.
Right. It's the one with all the DLC and stuff. Yeah. So that's cool. That's from one of the guys who made Super Meat Boy. And we've also got World of Goo. So a few older ones like World of Goo and Rogue Trooper and things like that. SteamWorld Dig 2, which is cool, because SteamWorld Dig 1 was a lot of fun. Very, very simple game, sort of like Spelunky. You just dig into the earth and gather treasure and stuff and upgrade your tools so you can dig further into the earth. Cool little gameplay loop it's got there. So yeah, that's a few examples of the quote unquote Nindies that Switch has got going on for it. So this is pretty cool. It's good to see third parties having interest in Nintendo and vice versa.
Yeah, it's interesting. It sounds like a lot of these are just indie games that have already been done and are just being ported across.
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting to see how that goes on into the future, and whether we're going to get are we going to have Switch
originals?
Switch originals or Switch exclusives.
That would be cool.
That'd be great. Yeah,
that would be really cool if they can get some of those developers to do Switch originals. Devs who are well established and made good impressions with their first titles, and make them just on Switch. That's a definite thing for me to buy it. Like I love my little Wii indies and stuff like that. So yeah, pretty damn cool to see Nintendo being a bit less old school in terms of they're being a bit more adopting with.
I'm excited. I'm really excited to see where this goes. Like if they can carve out more of of the market than what they have in the past with, let's say, the Wii and Wii U, which is
Wii did well.
Yeah, Wii did great in Japan.
I think it's the best selling console of all time, so it did pretty well.
No, it's done okay. It's just exciting. It's exciting to have a third player, potentially have a third big player.
Yeah. Although I see the Switch as sort of a sideways step, so it's not on the same realm as PS4 and Xbox One for me, but it's not worse. It's just sideways. It's something else. It's something else
I'm
to
of
have.
the same mind. I look at something, and obviously Zelda being what I've been playing on it, and the fact that you can just take it anywhere on the go handheld, that speaks to what I expect from the games, not in a, I'm only after small handheld experiences, because, typically I'm an outspoken person saying that I don't want massive games on my handheld devices. I want those little portable experiences. But I think it speaks more towards what we should expect technologically from the games coming out on it. We're not expecting Xbox One and PS4 competing, super flash, photorealistic, locked at 30 FPS titles. We're, expecting those smaller experiences effectively that, it's not a huge step up from the Wii U power wise. It is just very much, like you said, a sideways step where they thought, what, people who got the Wii U already got it knowing full well that it wasn't a PS3 360 competitor. It was just Nintendo's next console kind of thing. So with the Switch, they tried to do the same thing and say, well, look, we do need to make it slightly more powerful because the Wii U's old tech now, but, people are getting it for the Nintendo thing. And what do people buy our stuff for? They buy it for exclusives, which, 100%, I'd say 100% of people who buy Nintendo consoles these days is for the exclusives. That's it.
Yes.
They buy it for exclusives, which already have their aesthetic decided, which isn't graphically demanding. So they buy it for those, and then they buy it for just a stable system that they can play those titles on. So we only need to make it powerful enough to play those games at 60 FPS kind of thing, which, because they're not graphically demanding games, we can do. What's the other thing they buy us stuff for? Well, DS is, the best-selling portable console, so they buy it to take it around. And that kind of made their decision for them. It shows that Nintendo aren't as oblivious as we all assume them to be with a lot of the decisions they make. They clearly thought about what people actually buy their hardware for, and really just maximize the potential of the Switch through that, I feel.
Nice one. So just a question, just to go back to Zelda briefly, Balthazar, is that running at 60?
I would say no. I feel like that's probably not. It feels better than 30 a lot of the time.
Okay.
But it also has dips in areas, particularly weather-related dips. So if you're in an area that's really high density, a lot of trees, a lot of foliage, a lot of enemies, and then a dust storm kicks in or something, you get a bit of a frame drop there. But the frame drop doesn't feel like a classic frame drop. Like when you're playing Witcher 3 and it gets the frame drop, it feels like it's really chugging, which is also what suggests to me it's possibly not playing at 30 normally, because it doesn't feel like it's below 30 when it drops. But it's really a bit unheard of to hear a system locking a game at something like 40, 45 FPS. So I really don't know, honestly, what it's running at, but it feels smoother than 30 most of the time. And when it does have frame drops, it doesn't feel much worse than 30. So I kind of inclined to say it's locked at some bizarre number like 40.
It's still totally playable.
Yeah, absolutely. It's never dropped to a point where I'm like, ooh, that's chugging kind of thing. When it drops, I'm like, oh, that's a bit of a frame drop. But I've never been like, oh, no, that's not pleasant, which did happen to me a lot of times playing Witcher 3.
Ever turned into a steam engine. Well, we'll move on from Nintendo here, because we do have a few more news items we've got to get through as well. The next thing I wanted to talk about is the Xbox Game Pass.
Genius.
Now, so let's talk a wee bit about what this is. So Phil Spencer and Major Nelson, the other Xbox dude, revealed this in the last sort of week and a half. This is a Xbox exclusive sort of Netflix subscription model for Xbox titles, wherein you pay a monthly subscription and you have access to, they've said, 100 plus titles. Now, there's not too many available to start with. It sounds like there's only 10 or something like that, but they're obviously going to chuck them in. And I'm not sure if it's like Netflix where they'll rotate things out, or if they'll just keep them in like EA Access and you have access to everything that's ever been in the subscription kind of thing. Whether they have a vault that they put everything in. What do you guys think about this?
I think it's kind of like PlayStation Plus, but you don't have to be there during that month to be able to like add the thing to your library to then be able to access it down the track.
Yeah.
I think it's great. And I think for example, I got home that night after sending a link through to my girlfriend, and she was like, I think I might give this a go. It's people are so comfortable with that subscription model now, and they understand how it works, that it's like, oh, cool, okay, I totally get that, and I get what the service is going to be, and then it feels like really good value, like when you're getting this awesome back catalogue, good games, well, hopefully. I haven't seen the list, but it just I think it's spot on. I think it's exactly what they should have needed to do.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just go over a few of the titles here I've got in front of me. So the big one they're pushing is Halo 5, which obviously, we're not a huge fan. I haven't been a fan of Halo since Halo 3. After that, I thought the series took a bit of a turn for the worst, but that's still that's Xbox's biggest franchise, and to have the newest iteration of that available for their subscription model is pretty damn cool. Obviously shows they have a lot of faith in it. There's also things like Gears of War Ultimate Edition. We've got Fable 3, Tekken 6, I think that is. What's Tekken away up to? Soul Calibur 2, HD Remake, Lego Batman, NBA 2K16, things like that, and then Terraria. So you've got a few indies in there as well. So these are big name games kind of thing. It's not just your dregs that they're giving you. It seems like actually well established franchises that they're giving you access to. Now it's $10 a month in the States. So obviously it's probably going to be around, I would say, 15 here. Most likely 15 a month. So depending on the titles that they release, I think I think that'd be well worth a pop. I mean, neither of us have an Xbox, except and your girlfriend does, Reagan. So we'll probably have to use her as the guinea pig and see what.
Yeah. I'll remind her about it and tell her, hey, you have to get the subscription model, so I can see what it's like.
It's research.
Yeah,
research for us. So no, good on you, Xbox. That's the second great decision you've made in the last sort of 8 months, following the Windows 10 play anywhere type dealie that they have, which was an excellent decision as well. So I think their Phil Spencer is doing them well. His leadership is obviously shining through.
Good job, Philly.
Yeah, definitely. The final news item that I wanted to chat about, which Balthazar, I think you can take point on, man, is Shadow of War.
This game looks... I mean, it's obviously it's a cinematic trailer. We can't say what the game looks like yet, but I'm so pumped. I'm changing my most anticipated game, because obviously we had no idea this was coming at all. But if this is 2017, this is my most anticipated game for 2017.
Wow!
Definitely.
So do you want to tell us what it is? Because from that title, if I saw a game coming out called Shadows of War, I wouldn't know what the hell it is.
Yeah, so essentially Shadows of War is the sequel to Shadow of Mordor, Lord of the Rings Shadow of Mordor, which was, when it came out, 2014 maybe, was my game of the year when it came out. Absolutely phenomenal sort of open world game set in the Lord of the Rings universe, presenting us with the Nemesis system, which everyone obviously is expecting to come back, improved.
Oh, it would have to.
In Shadow of War.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, it looks like it's such a cool premise just from the cinematic trailer, that they've kind of, taken the fact that he came to power and he undid Sauron's armies and everything in the first game, and kind of learned to control everything, and then just immediately in the trailer just going, oh no, not anymore. Sauron's bigger and better and badder and
more Sauron.
He looks cool. I got to say, we never get Sauron. We never get Sauron. Or Lord of the Rings games, the Lord of the Rings movies, we never get Sauron, and he looks fucking cool. So I am pumped for a game with Sauron in it as the villain.
Didn't we fight him at the very end of Shadow of Mordor in like a quick time event?
Kind of, but also no. We fought one of his lieutenants who, at a point, I believe, sort of channeled Sauron. So it was like we were kind of fighting Sauron, but like you said, through a quick time event, and very briefly at the very end. It's not like Sauron is the villain. Sauron is the bad guy in this game who's coming to get you, not his lieutenants. In Shadow of Mordor, Sauron was very much the end game goal, but it was also made very clear that he wasn't what you were setting out to achieve. You were just trying to sow discord in his ranks and kill his lieutenants, to kind of rile him up and get him out of his tower. It was never expected that he would be a huge part of the game, just the end objective, whereas they seem to have made an effort in this trailer of showing, no, it's all Sauron all the time, this game, which has me super pumped. I've always wanted more Sauron. He's a fucking boss, so
he is
bring
a boss,
him on.
yeah.
When I played Shadow of Mordor, I would go as far as to say it's the best WWE game ever made. It's so good when you're scrapping with someone and some dude just comes into the mix and goes, "Oh, you got me last time," and they have their wee little intro. Yeah. And it reminds me of someone like Stone Cold Steve Austin or something coming out with his intro and being like, and holding the belt up or something like
really
that.
Is, especially
that
when,
happens
like
4 to 5 times per skirmish in Shadow of Mordor. So it seems like this weird wrestling game where everyone has their little personalized intro and they come in and then everyone's just scrapping it out.
It's brilliant when it is one of the people you've killed before as well, or you think you've killed before. But, that was one of the cool things of the Nemesis system, was if you didn't decapitate them, they might come back. And that was the rule of it. If their head wasn't lopped off, then there was a chance they were still alive. And my favourite was old Fugly McJavelin man, who showed up right in the middle of a massive rumble already, 4 or 5 lieutenants, and this dude just shows up and goes, "Oi, geezer!"
Because they all have like Cockney accents.
Yeah, and the camera pans down on him and the background, everything around it kind of slows down, and he almost seems like he's about to, go into the sob story. He's got this mess, half his face is missing because he's one of the people I've already killed, and he looks at me and goes, me underlings won't look at me proper no more. And they're like, you thought you's got me? Nah. And then he like runs in, and I'm like, this is the best game. It was such fun. Every time one of them showed up, it was, like you said, their kind of intro plates were really partially what made the experience so grandiose as well, that they all announce themselves entering the fray.
It really is wonderful when you're you've got your eyes set on one guy and you've tracked him down, you've got to his location, you've tracked him down, you know what his fears are and his weaknesses and things, and then just these two other random dudes rock up. They both get intros and ruin your plan completely. They start scrapping it out for supremacy or something, and you just sit there going, what the hell just happened?
It's phenomenal. I'm excited about that too. I never really got a chance to like fully sink my teeth into that game. It was one that I picked up like after release sort of thing and played it for a while, and then I always do this. I get distracted by a new release and stop playing the one that I was enjoying. But just so many cool things about those games.
I think the big thing for me with Shadow of War
game
that shows the Nemesis system is going to have to evolve is AI intellect levels, really. We were only scrapping with goblins and orcs and things who are stupid, but they're renowned for not really thinking much at all. So the whole weaknesses and strength system was very basic. This guy's scared of bees, so you throw bees at him, and this guy's empowered around warhounds, so you kill all the hounds, and then he's a bit scared of a few and stuff like that. But the trailer's shown Balrogs and Nazgul and things like that entering the fray now. So if you're trying to target and take a ring wraith out of the equation, you can guarantee he's not gets scared if he's on his own. Like, no, that's not, this guy's, his list of strengths and weaknesses is going to be much more comprehensive, and you're really going to have to think more about what you're going to do to fight these guys. So I think that's kind of showing the potential evolutionary step they're going to take with the Nemesis system. They're just adding more than basic primal creatures into the game. They're putting things with higher motivations and desires. So it's definitely, I've got high expectations from it.
I like the idea that a secret shame of ring wraiths is that they get scared if they're on their own. I like that idea. They're all, because you only ever see them traveling in packs, right, in the movies and things like that. So you never really see one by itself. But if it doesn't have his mates around it, it's just like, oh my god, I don't know what to do.
You go into your ranger vision, you manage to track down the Witch King when he's standing on his own, and it's like, it feels inadequate about the size of his penis. Like, right,
run up and take it.
That's why he gets the biggest fell beast.
That's wonderful. So that's Shadows of War or Shadow of War, Balthazar?
I'm not sure. Whatever I wrote on the document, that's the correct
Shadow of War. It looks like Shadow of War. Middle-earth Shadow of War, it's called. So I don't think that has a release date, but it's coming sometime this year, apparently.
I believe on the 8th of March, they've got a gameplay reveal for it. So.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's cool. Actually, I stand corrected. It's coming August 22nd. I just looked up.
Oh, this year. So there you go. Then that's my most anticipated game for this year. Now, sorry, Mass Effect. Awesome. You're my most anticipated game from. No, that was Zelda. All right. Sorry, Mass Effect.
Sorry, Mass Effect. You're down my list.
You're out. Shadow of War came out of nowhere, and I'm hoping, just because, I'm always hoping that more games will come out better than what I've been playing, even if what I've been playing so good. I'm hoping this will be my game of the year for this year as well.
Very, very cool. Yeah, so leaked by Target, and then Warner Bros. Just thought, oh, hell with it, we'll check out a trailer, and now everyone's riding the hype train. So it's pretty cool. I think we'll see some of it at E3, most likely. Very cool. So the last section of the podcast, as we do every time we record, we're going to talk about one of our top 10 games of all time, and it's me this week. So I've been thinking about my list and what I want to talk about this time, and I've landed on something that's very, very dear to my heart, and that is Conker's Bad Fur Day for the Nintendo 64. So have either of you guys ever played this game?
No.
Yes. I have, definitely. I mean, N64 was my first console, so a classic like Conker's, you can't miss it, really.
Yeah. So Conker's is a game that made me. I had my parents were the type who they wouldn't let me play violent games. I had to sneak off to friends' houses to play, Grand Theft Auto 3 on PS2 and things like that. Before that, Conker was a it made me feel like I was doing something naughty, because this game is unbelievably offensive. It is so much fun. It's the most juvenile sort of humor, but it's executed incredibly well. So it's made by Rare, who, as you guys know, I'm a massive fan of, and it's in the vein of Banjo-Kazooie. So everything has all the like cheese and flowers and things have eyes, and they all have witty banter to spout, and the money that you collect, wads of money, bounce around and they call you geezer, and they've got like a Cockney accent and stuff like that, and he's smoking a cigar. So it's all very cartoony and hilarious. But this game is also, I didn't realize it at the time when I got a little bit older and I played it again. This game is amazing in the homage it pays to movies. Conker's Bad Fur Day parodies just about every single big film that was out at the time, kind of thing. It's got Alien, it's got Jaws, it's got Goodfellas, it's got so many cool little references in it. Terminator, all sorts of stuff like that. And it's also just got this incredibly... the aesthetic is cartoony and childlike, and it seems like, this is going to be a fun little happy game. And then you get killed and the Grim Reaper starts swearing at you, and you have to do a deal with him, and the swearing is all censored, which I think makes it even more hilarious. It's similar to South Park, where for some reason when you just hear that beep, it just makes it that much more funny.
Yeah. Well, it's that juxtaposition of like them clearly swearing and it being a cartoon, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. It's also wonderfully gory as well, unnecessarily gory, I would say. So there's a mission right at the very start of the game where you have to transport a beehive, because all the wasps are attacking the bees, and you have to take this beehive up a hill, and the wasps are coming after you. And when you get the beehive up to the top, you realize that the beehive is actually sort of a gun emplacement thing, and the bumblebee jumps in it and cranks it up and then just shoots the shit out of these wasps, and they just explode in these gory chunks, and everyone's swearing and being like, oh shit, he's coming for it. Like, it's such a wonderful little game. It's also incredibly difficult. It's got a really steep learning curve about it, so you have to be on your toes, and you can die so easily.
Like 3D sort of action platformer type thing.
Yeah, so exactly. Yeah. If you think of Banjo-Kazooie, it's exactly that aesthetic, pretty much.
Yep.
That was Rare's go-to type thing for the Nintendo 64 games in third-person vein kind of thing. Apart from GoldenEye, and apart from what was the other one they did? What was it?
Gemini.
Gemini. What's it called, Balthazar?
Yeah, Jet Force Gemini.
Jet Set Gemini? No.
Jet Force Gemini. Yeah.
Jet Force Gemini. That's the one. I was thinking
Jet Set Radio.
Yeah. So no, Conkers is incredibly dear to my heart, and the multiplayer of this game is so much fun. I wish, because they rebooted it on original Xbox, and it was called Conkers Live and Reloaded, and it just wasn't the same. They took out some chunks of it that were probably deemed on too bad taste nowadays, and it just felt like it was completely nerfed, and I was so gutted, because this game remade in its pristine sort of original form is so good. I think it might be on the Rare Replay collection, which is only on Xbox, which is massively gutting to me. But I'm not sure if that's the original N64 version or the Xbox version. But definitely pick it up. It's just I just get such joy thinking about this game, because it sort of showed me the idea of that something can be more than what it looks like on the surface, I think. So yeah, Conker's Bad Fur Day is it's in the upper echelon of games of all time for me.
There you go. Nice, man. That's cool. It's one of those ones that I never really came across. Like a friend of mine had a Nintendo 64, so I just played whatever he had.
Yeah.
And he definitely did not have Conker's Bad Fur Day. So.
Conker's, even on the box, it has this massive disclaimer saying this is not for children. Like the box art looks like this kitty little squirrel and his squirrel girlfriend and stuff, and then it's got this massive disclaimer that says don't buy this if you're under the age of 17. It's like they're trying their best to deflect angry parents. But I imagine they didn't do that great a job. But yeah, absolutely awesome. We'll end the show with just a few release dates for this month, because we've moved into March now. So we've got my favourite, Ghost Recon Wildlands, coming March 7th.
Definitely pick that one up.
Definitely do not. We've got that 2 days from now, so it's March 5th when we're recording, so a couple of days. We've got a game that I don't think any of us are interested in, because we don't really get into baseball, if that's if I'm thinking correctly.
I think that's fair. Yeah.
Yeah, MLB The Show 17, which is coming on March 28th. We have the big boy, which is Mass Effect Andromeda, which is March 21st. So I think at least one of us will be picking that up, most likely Balthazar.
Mm-hmm.
And we also have Kingdom Hearts HD 1.5 and 2.5 Remix. The stylization of the title of this is absolutely bizarre. It's the number 1.5 and then Roman numerals 2.5, capital R, lowercase e, capital M, lowercase I, lowercase x. So
yeah, it's good stuff.
Series continues to confuse me even in the way it's written.
That's actually not just a Kingdom Hearts thing, though. In Japan, remix is 2 words. There is no one word for remix.
Oh, so you're
It's remix.
mixing.
They've remixed the game.
Is that true? Like in Japanese, in the language, there's no word for remix.
There's no character. Like remix isn't a single thing. It's mix is like when they put out the original mix, and then it is just redoing the mix. So it's two words.
Hyphenated. Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting. I wonder if that's why it's capitalized. Very strange, anyway. But yeah, those are the big ones for March. So I think the main one we're all looking forward to is Mass Effect Andromeda. So you can expect some solid content from us on that in regards to that game. So check that out. To end the show now, we'll just let everyone know that we finally have a YouTube URL. We actually can quote our YouTube site. Yeah. Very exciting, very exciting.
You can see me right now. I have my hands in the air. I'm fist pumping.
Are you waving them like you just don't care, Reagan?
Yeah. If I had a Polaroid picture, I'd be shaking that as well. So I'm pretty happy about it. Yeah.
Shout out to Outcast. But yeah, we're youtube.com/Overcast Gamer. That's all you need to know. You can check out all our content there. We've got overcastgamer.com, the website. We're on all the usual places, Facebook, Twitter, all that sort of stuff. Just search Overcast Gamer and we will pop up. We do live streams every Friday night at the moment from 8 till 10. And we're usually trying to do new releases now. So we won't be streaming Grand Theft Auto 5 or any of those, those ones that'll get us massive hits anymore. We would be doing hopefully Zelda next week, but we'll have to see if we can sort that out. But yeah, thank you for listening as per usual, everyone, and we will see you again in 2 weeks.
Ciao.
See you later.
See ya.
Thank you.